Got it?
Wait a second.
It was nice just...
There you go. There you go.
Perfect. It was nice to actually not have to stress this month after Francisco and I in June had to grab our batteries at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we just had them set up for 7:30, and then last month it was a presentation fiasco because there was too many pictures on my PDF and it was 3,000 megabytes or something. All right, so let's get underway. So tonight I'm just going to do my normal chat, then we're going to have a talk about the Model Y that Colin and his partner, I don't have your name, sorry, have brought in for us to take a look at. And then Gavin is going to give us a chat about the lithium battery recycling stuff that he's done a presentation on. So, infrastructure. Toilets down the hallway for anyone who's new. Did everyone sign in? It's all right, you don't have to be truthful. Righto. Every month, start with the free charges in Brisbane and their status. St Lucia's offline. The rest at Gardens Point and Kelvin Grove, or one of them at Kelvin Grove's derated because you guys just use them too much. On this screen, the free charger at Castledine isn't on there at the moment, but that's getting the price turned on at the end of the month, so didn't think to put that one on here. So the last couple of months I've been going through bringing up that this Castledine charger was coming online, and it finally opened on the 28th of July, just after our last meeting. And I did ask a couple of times if they wanted me to organise EVs to do an opening ceremony, and didn't hear anything back, and they said it had them all under control. And in Sydney they had a big ribbon thing and EVs, and I was like, you just can't help some people. But I think it's copping an absolute hammering if you look on PlugShare, and it's going to be 60 cents a kilowatt hour when they turn the price on, so the usage is going to go like that, I think. So we'll see. Just the next slide, I've got a little screenshot of the GUI, and this confused me a bit because it's advertised as a 150 kilowatt charger. It says 180 on there, and it will do 160. So I'm not really sure what it's meant to be, but I am planning to do a little test with maybe Duncan if he replies to me on the weekend. I'm going to see what happens if you put the fastest EV, which is an EV6 with 800 volt charging, and a Nissan Leaf 62 kilowatt hour.
I tried today, I put EV6 and it went up to 140.
Very good. But what happens if you do it with the charter mode at the same time?
I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure as well. No, someone's used it, surely. Come on. So the thing about this charger, it's my understanding, is that normally the Nissan Leaf 40 kilowatt hour and the 32s peak at 49 or 50 kilowatt on the charter mode, but the 62 kilowatt hour can actually go a bit faster. So this one has 200 amp charter mode, which I'm pretty sure regular ones are 125 amp. So this is why it's interesting to do the test, because we're going to have the potential for two fast cars charging on the same charger at the same time, just to see what the behaviour is. So I don't know, that's interesting to me. It might not be any interest to you, but I'll do a little video and see what the result is. But yeah, essentially it's advertised as a 150 watt charger, 150 kilowatt charger. 150 watt would be a bit slow, but 150 kilowatt charger, and if you plug in your Model 3 you're getting 70 kilowatts, so that's a bit confusing because that can definitely charge a bit faster than that, and that's because they're doing the cable on the CCS at the moment is rated at 200 amp, and the voltage of the car's like 350, so it's giving 70 kilowatts. So anyway, I could talk all night about charging stuff, you know I can. Just down the road at Newstead, they've put in another 2 chargers. These ones are the ones that can go up to 75, but these are the 50 kilowatt versions. And they went in this week, 40 cents a kilowatt hour. I think they'll get used quite a bit because I know Hamilton gets used a lot. So from Nathan's previous slides, the CBD actually has the highest percentage of EV ownership for Queensland. So, you know, basically this area. So I think that might be quite a handy addition. I've shown the slide of previous months. This was the Quesh Phase 3 rollout of the inland charging Phase 3 chargers. And this one, where is it? This one here I think has just gone in, which is the next slide, please. The Quesh Phase 3 first site, Kingaroy, and that's a 75 kilowatt charger, so that's quite handy. Next slide. So, just as a bit of a chuckle, the town of Kingaroy has 2 DC fast chargers. Next slide. The entire Brisbane Bayside has exactly 0 chargers, and the Kingaroy population's 10,000 versus 160,000. So don't ask me why, mate. Just don't ask me why. Kingaroy has 2 DC fast chargers 500 metres apart, and the Brisbane Bayside doesn't have any. And you can see this whole area here also doesn't, but there's a couple planned, so we can only wait and hope. So I was hoping one would be done by now. This is the arena funding, so you can see there are a couple going in on the Bayside, but can they just hurry up, please? Okie doke. Each month I just do the rounds of the pricing. So the Quesh electric superhighways 30 cents, EV networks 50 kilowatts are 40, Gold Coast 30, the Ampol one 80 and all 160 kilowatts going to be 60. Once again, it's free until the end of the month, so you got 2 weeks. Any 350 kilowatts are 60 cents a kilowatt hour. And that wraps up the infrastructure for this month. We'll just go through some EV event stuff. We had the national branch had the AEVA national meeting down at ACT, large event, and it was very similar to, for anyone who went to Electric Dreams, from what I could see, it was very similar to the Electric Dreams event we had here the other week. Les was going to give a bit of a chat about this. You want to do that now, or you got photos, or after? It's up to you, mate. Don't want to put you on the spot. Okay. Just what's the next slide? Is it the Glenn George Trophy? It is. So Glenn George is a Queensland AEVA lifetime member, and he had a trophy named after him, and for each national event there's a competition to see who can drive the lowest range EV the furthest, and you get essentially a score. And Trev Richards drove his, so he lives up here, I think that's north of Mackay, and he drove to the ACT in that, his T-Rev. And there's some stats for you. Just under 30 kilowatt hour battery, did 2,300 kilometres over 4 days and paid $39 in electricity. And there's a little formula of how the Glen George Trophy is worked out. They do distance travelled divided by the battery capacity plus the age of the battery in years. So that's just a little fun thing that they do at the national meeting. They've had it in 2017, 2018 in Brisbane. In 2019 they had it. 2020 and 2021 they didn't have it because of COVID. Trev actually won it in 2018 when he drove from there to Brisbane, so he actually won it once before. So now he has his name on it twice in 4 years essentially. And Glen George, the name of the trophy, actually won it in 2019 when he did pretty much the same trip to Sydney in his, what is that car? No, the blue MG, 1965 MG or something it is, yeah. Yeah, so the conversion. So yeah, a little bit of fun. There's the trophy, just got a big chunk of lithium in the middle. Okie doke. Just go back, sorry mate. Next one. Just on Friday at the Broadbeach Supercharger, there's some guys having a get together. Anyone's invited, but it is at a Tesla Supercharger, so it is most of the people are Tesla guys. So if you're interested in that, you can go there. Anyone not know that the Cleveland EV experience is on September 11? Is anyone not going that has an EV? Because I'll need to speak to you after this. Does anyone need information on how to register? Good. You're not going to tell me anyway, are you? All right, I understand. Just a couple of stats at the moment. We've got probably already 80 EVs, passenger vehicles registered to attend. So we're more than 3 weeks out still. So I expect with my spam on plug share and inappropriate signages on local EV chargers that maybe that might attract a couple more people, so we'll see. I figure not everyone runs in EV circles in Queensland, so I'm going to try a few alternate methods to let people know about it. But yeah, it's going along pretty good. Next month is the dreaded vote for chairman, secretary and treasurer for the branch. So if you're interested in helping out in any way, you can put your hand up and get some nominations. We'll send out an email for nominations in the next week, seeing as it's and just next meeting, I probably never really tell you guys enough about the next meeting, but I've already got some stuff pre-planned. So the UQ guys that I've been threatening to have here for a couple of months have said they can come next month. One of the business members for AEVA is doing a fleet managers day down at Mount Cotton, and he's going to come and have a chat to us about that, how that went. It's just for fleet managers, just to get them on board, I believe. And then I'm going to see if Chris, who's just driven Model 3 from Murrayfield down to Adelaide, I'm going to wrangle him in to give us a chat about his mission. So that was a very big drive, and it's on Facebook if you're on the group, you can read about it. But that's what we've got planned for next month. Okie doke. When do you want to speak about the event? At the end?
At the end.
At the end, okay.
You guys keep going.
Okay. All right. Well, there was a little bit to say about the event. There was a lot of nice EVs and stuff there, but I'll just continue on to the general news, hey? And basically, it's a little bit quiet on the EV news front at the moment. It's just not a huge amount of stuff going on. Just a couple of things I thought I'd bring up, and that's the Model Y came out, and we'll discuss that in a bit more detail soon. And the the Atto 3 is on display at Indooroopilly Shopping Centre, and there was huge lineups for people to get to touch and feel that. So, like 100-metre lineups, very long. I never went there, but once I get to know someone who gets one in Brisbane, I'll get it in just like this one. Anyone ordered an Atto 3? You have? Okay. And the the MG ZS EV refresh is coming at the end of the year, and these two are the cheaper end models. They're sub 50,000. They're about 47,000, 46 and 47,000. Next slide, mate. I just wanted to give a very brief comparison of these two cars, and I stole this from Z-Car, as I have a couple of slides that are coming up. So thank you to Z-Car. This is a very good website that has this type of information. But here's the original ZS EV. Here's the new ZS EV in higher spec trim. There is a lower model, the Excite, which I think is 47,000. Here's the standard range Atto 3 and the top range Atto 3. If you have a look, they're actually very similar. They're actually very, very similar, these two. Nothing really stands out between them. So the pricing's pretty similar, the battery size pretty similar, the consumption's very similar. So really that might just be a bit of a choice as to what you prefer. Next one, mate. Okie doke. I'm just going to give a rundown on the specs and stuff, all right? So this is some of the stuff straight offline. I don't profess to be a Tesla expert, but you know, we're around them all the time, so you pick up bits and pieces. But this is straight off the order page for Tesla at the moment, and this is the Model Y comes in two variants, and that's the rear-wheel drive and the all-wheel drive. The rear-wheel drive is 76,000 drive away, and you've got a choice of colour, very similar to the Model 3, black, grey, and the white's free, by the way. Free. Like the Cybertruck's not coloured, right? So it's nice that they're putting white paint on for you. The black, grey and blue are 1,500 extra on top of that price, and the red is nearly 3,000 extra. The all-wheel drive on the next slide is 107,000 drive away. Now, sorry if I'm incorrect on this exact pricing.
That's performance. The all-wheel drive non-performance is not here. Not on the list.
Can you buy it? Can you order it? This is straight off the website. Oh, so it's not available yet? So, okay, so it's not available yet. Right, so this is what's on the order side at the moment, the performance. And so what you're saying is there's an all-wheel non-performance coming?
Yeah, it'll be a long range.
Okay, long range, right. You get a few extra bits and pieces, different wheels, brakes, suspension, extra motor, and it goes faster and has a bit longer range and a bit bigger battery. So that's just a quick overview. I've got a few other bits and pieces to get through. Just the difference between so we have a 60 kilowatt hour battery versus a 76 kilowatt hour battery, 450 versus 514. Pretty good efficiency. That's very similar to Model 3 efficiency. The performance is always higher in these cars because people are just flooring it around every corner. And yeah, the acceleration is probably one of the biggest differences. Next one, mate. One of the other differences is the two battery types. So you've got LFP battery in the rear wheel drive, but you've got the aluminium battery, I think it is, in the performance, and it can charge a bit faster in the performance, apparently. And it does say on the website you can charge however you want with the LFP, but with the was it nickel, cobalt, aluminium? They recommend charging to 90. So. Fast, is it 10 to 80% charge times 25 and 19 minutes, so it's pretty fast. I'll put that to the test, that's for sure. What we got? And just how does this Model Y compare to other EVs that we have kicking around? We've got in comparison to the Volvo, the Kia and the Hyundai Ioniq 5, pretty similar. There's, as with the Atto 3 and the MG, we're getting more models now that there isn't as much of a distinctive difference between a couple of models. So it's more going to be about where's your brand loyalty and, you know, what you think is quality over cost and that type of stuff. So you've got an all-wheel drive, haven't you? You got an all-wheel drive, haven't you? Are you getting more than 528? No? Because you're flooring it around all the corners, right? 480, yeah. But the rear-wheel drive a bit more efficient, yeah. Okay, so these are not. I think these were quite. Real-world numbers as well. So. The EV6 does get a higher range, but it's got a lot bigger battery there too, so a bit faster. It's funny on the on the other screen it actually said that the Model Y can charge at 200, and then on this one it says 170. So I guess that's the end of my story. So Cole, do you want to come up and have a chat about why you bought the Y?
I've seen some people saying they should get a because plate.
Because?
Rego.
Just why? Because?
I guess we really were looking to turn into a 2 EV household. We had been looking into getting an Ioniq 5, which everyone knows how fun those are trying to get. And launch day came for the Tesla. Of course, no news until just everybody gets an email, and we decided, well, why wait? So we've been looking at it and been keeping an eye out for when it would be available, and yeah, got lucky being one of the first, I guess, to get an order put in.
Okay. How much did you pay?
I believe it's I believe it was at 76. We got in before the price rise because a couple weeks after launch, it went up a couple thousand.
Yeah.
So
2,500.
Yeah. Yep.
Lucky you.
Get lucky.
So you've got a Model 3?
Yeah. So we've got a blue Model 3 rear-wheel drive, one of the unicorns, delivered in November 2021, and that was going well, and so.
Okay. Do you have white interior in that one?
Yeah.
So you've stuck with the white interior?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially getting ceramic, we found that getting the seats protected is just easy to keep clean with just baby wipes and no marks or anything.
Okay. Any plan to do anything to it? Ceramic coating, tinting, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, we're booked in to have both ceramic interior and exterior, as well as tinting on the front windows done this week. So,
Very good. Why did you get the Y rather than another Model 3?
Before we actually got even the 3, we had a HRV Honda. So we wanted to go back into a hatchback, get a bit of a small SUV. I guess it's kind of mid-size, but we liked having the versatility of being able to, travel and transport things, and a lot more space for the dog.
Okay. Is there any major things you've discovered between the two that you've noticed? Were you surprised to buy, or is it all exactly what you're expecting?
Probably the main difference is just because it is so much higher. It's a lot easier to get in and out of, which, as I'm sure most people realize, getting in and out of a 3 or an S is not the most. Sometimes you have to climb out or roll out, as some people do. But it's because you're actually in a normal seat. It's just much easier to get in and out. So that's probably that, and the actual boot space is a lot larger.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
How many Ys in the country?
A couple hundred at this point, I believe.
You've got one, you must be an expert.
I know every single, the Tesla's doing, I know each delivery center is probably doing 5 or 6 a day, I'd say.
Most fantastic car.
It's a good one. Very happy with it.
Tesla Brisbane delivering 50 miles a day.
Yeah, out of Hendra, they can definitely do a lot more. Yeah, we're out of Southport. We can only do a couple.
Yeah. Very good. Yes, Gav?
Is there more internal headroom as well as being higher, physically higher cabin?
Yeah. And being, 6 feet, I definitely don't feel it. You can be a lot closer to that glass roof, and definitely have a bit more headspace.
You're growing afros.
I really want to spike everything up.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess you get to. Colin was nice enough to bring it in and give you a look at it, so we'll have a look at that stuff off camera if you haven't already had a look. But thank you very much for bringing it in. I really appreciate it. It helps with these, the content of these meetings to be able to press the flesh, so to speak. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Both of you.
Glad to.
All right, Gav was going to give us a talk about lithium battery recycling. Well, thank you very much, Gav. He's got a presentation. Here you are, bud.
Thank you. While he gets it fired up, I'll just explain how this came about. I write for carexpert.com.au, and I was actually I was going into to Tesla to get a bit of warranty work done on my car and get the tyres rotated and that sort of stuff. And I was catching an Uber in, and we happened to come across a bunch of Teslas in front of us. They were all white, and I said, "Oh, well, we're in a Tesla sandwich." And the Uber driver looked around and said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't think these things are as green as what people say they are. When these batteries are finished, they'll be on the dump. They'll be out in the scrap heap and, sitting somewhere in landfill." And he actually raises a valid point. There's a lot of reasons why these things are a good idea, but in Australia at least, you're looking at the capture rate for lithium-ion batteries, according to the CSIRO in 2019, was 2%. The average capture rate for recycling for all the other chemistries, apart from lead acid, which is like 96%, but all the other chemistries, your nickel metal hydride and so forth, they're looking at about 3%. So it's not a great picture. And so, look, the Uber driver had reason to basically say what he said. And so I've written a few articles about dispelling some of the myths of EVs, but this one I thought would be about the problem that you see here. You can move to the next slide. So, as I've already outlined, the problem is in this country is that the capture rate for recycling is poor, and you're looking at this year. It's 1,000 to 10,000 tonnes of lithium ion alone are going to be looking for, it'll be end of life and looking for correct disposal. So if you look at that capture rate and you look at that tonnage, and then when you look down the track where at the end of the decade we're going to be eyeballing 130 to 190,000 tonnes of lithium ion battery waste, then it is a serious problem given our history with low recycling levels. So that's the issue. And the fact is these batteries can be recycled, although they haven't been in Australia up until very recently, doesn't mean that that's not the case. So we'll have a look at how they can recycle these batteries, and we'll also look at what, particularly for large batteries, what possible extra life they may have after they finish driving around in a car. And then we'll look at what Australia's doing about improving the really pretty poor capture rate for our batteries. You can move to the next one. Yeah, so basically, although it never really happened in Australia, lithium-ion batteries were at some facilities simply incinerated or smelted, and the overall recycling level of the input was about 30 to 50%, and you get the base metals, and that's about it. In Australia, nothing really happened at all until 2017 when Melbourne-based EnviroStream started their operations, and they were using more modern techniques. And overseas, there's probably about a dozen battery recycling facilities that are using state-of-the-art techniques of various descriptions that allow for safe recycling of lithium-ion batteries for much higher recycling levels than what the old style, smelting and incineration got you. If you can move to the next one. So particularly when it comes to large batteries, the first thing you've got to do is, naturally enough, discharge them, because no one really wants to muck around with, we all know that 240 volts can be pretty bad, but 450 volts is worse. So if it's a large battery, it needs to be fully discharged before any work is taken for anyone sets up and starts dismantling it. So overseas, at least, you're looking at there's a company in Germany called Dusenfeld, and they actually, and also Redwood Technologies in Nevada, that used to be, one of Tesla's founders is now running that, but they both use the power in the batteries that are coming in the door to partly recycle, to provide power for the actual recycling of the batteries themselves. So it's a very green way of making use of what remaining power's in the batteries. In this country here, we've only got one recycling facility for lithium ion, and it's in Melbourne. And so if you had a large battery here, EnviroStream asked that it be basically discharged before travelling, because you don't really want to travel with a higher risk battery, a large fully charged battery if something goes wrong. So for those at least here, they don't use the juice to power the process, but it's understandable given the distances involved. So that's the first stage. If you can go to the next stage. All the different facilities in the different countries around the world are dismantling their large batteries. Small ones can be shredded straight away, but when it comes to large ones, they have to be physically taken apart. And so obviously you can see the guys wearing the right gloves and that sort of thing. These have already been discharged, but you've always got to do the right thing when it comes to eliminating any possible risk. And so they'll take out the various other bits of plastic and copper and steel and the housings and that sort of stuff, and they'll go to local recycling companies here in Australia like Sims Metals. And you're looking at, once this is done, then the raw battery cells can go along to the next stage, which is shredding. Step 3. Okay, so once they hit the shredder, the most important thing is that there's no fire. And so there's a variety of ways of doing this. Here in Australia, EnviroStream and another company in America called Li-Cycle, they use a shredding into a water bath to prevent oxygenated air from basically causing a fiery event. And in Germany, Dusenfeld use nitrogen. So when they do their shredding, the air has no normal air, and they evacuate that and replace it with nitrogen, which is inert, and therefore you don't get any fire. There is another option I've heard that is doing the shredding in super cold temperatures, but not much literature is available about that at the moment. So we can go to step 4. Okay, so once it's been shredded, further breaking down of the battery material is undertaken, and you end up with a resulting product that looks like that, and they call it black mass. And it's basically, unlike the earlier, more primitive forms of recycling, this stuff is pretty much everything that's active within the battery. It's electrolyte, it's lithium, it's cobalt, it's manganese, it's nickel. And so all the goodies are pretty much retained. And you're looking at, here and in Australia, for the new generation recycling techniques, all of them get over 90%. And in EnviroStream's case, because I interviewed Max from EnviroStream before writing the article, what they do is they send the black mass over to South Korea, and it then receives further processing and separation into individual elements back into the your nickel and cobalt and that sort of thing, and then they go and make new batteries. And you can see the end result of that product in phones and new cars that are coming out from that country. We go to the next. Okay, so although we're getting increased volumes of lithium-ion batteries here in Australia and all over the world, a lot of that at the moment is not actually large power walls or car batteries. It's smaller batteries, power tools and things like that. And so the actual Max from EnviroStream believes that here in this country at least, we won't really see a big increase in the number of large batteries such as used in electric vehicles until the end of the decade. And this is because they simply last a long time. And he's not the only one saying that. JB Straubel from Redwood Materials, I mentioned earlier, he gives a typical EV battery a 15-year life, and which means it's going to be a fairly long wait time until a lot of these things that are driving around are finishing their life, on a set of wheels. And but after that, one of the things a lot of people don't realise is it doesn't mean that they're automatically heading for the shredder. The stationary storage industry is a growing it's certainly a growing one, and the ability for large electric vehicle batteries to power reliably for less difficult jobs, not as difficult as driving around, a 2-ton car at speed on the freeway, but simply providing power backup when required, things like that. A battery, after it's finished its life in the car, is going to do a good job when you are asked to do simple power backup. And so the consulting company McKinsey & Co., their own figures believe that we're probably along, we've already started the process of using electric vehicle batteries for stationary storage, but they believe by the end of the decade we'll have 200 gigawatt hours a year, and it's probably going to be more than that. To give you an idea, the whole of Australia, its consumption of electricity at any one time, if you average it out, is about 200 gigawatts. So it could, what they're saying here is that the various, old electric car batteries around the world could power Australia for the equivalent of 1 hour, which is quite a feat. And I think we'll find as we go ahead that those figures are conservative. And there's certainly not this organisation that's saying that. There's plenty of examples of all this already happening. If we can go to the next slide. Jaguar's one. They have a mobile power pack that they're using for their racing team to provide energy for their electric racing cars. And those mobile power packs are available for other use, not just for Jaguar's own racing team. And they're on wheels and can be transported for wherever there's a requirement for a large amount of power delivered very quickly. If you go to the next slide, you'll see an example from Audi, where they're actually using Audi e-tron battery packs for running a pumped hydro system in Germany. And the engineers there believe that they'll get a good 10 years running as stationary storage after they finish their job of driving people around. So if we go to the next slide, there's another couple of examples. So Renault have been doing this for a while. They've actually got a number of power battery storage projects working in different countries, and without making much of a song and dance about it. And the batteries they used were previously doing business inside little Renault Zoes. And Nissan, of course, with their Leaf, have been used in a number of examples and a number of projects from all over the globe. There's one here where they're powering a stadium, working with photovoltaics to deliver and store power to run the stadium and make it a fairly green stadium. But they've also used them in things like electric forklifts, and there's a whole range of end uses that Nissan Leaf batteries have been used for. We can go to the next slide. Okay, finally, Australia does have a plan to lift the really low capture rates for batteries. You'll be pleased to hear. It's actually been some time in the making, but it's kicked off officially this year. And so the Battery Stewardship Council is basically, it's designed to give a cradle to grave, not landfill grave, but a cradle to recycling custodianship of the life cycle of a battery. And in the past, there was no real responsibility from either the battery manufacturers, councils, retailers, and so what would happen is, you'd get garbage trucks on fire when people have chucked out their laptop and it's been munched by a garbage unit and it's caught fire, and you've got stuff leaking into landfill, and this scheme is meant to put an end to all of that sort of stuff. And so, although it's really only just starting, as it says here, it's designed to make battery recycling easy for everyone, and accessible, safe, and with properly organised transportation and networks of retailers that allow, that are spaced all over the country so that you can drop off at locations that are convenient. You go to the next slide. So it's not hard to use. The website is bCycle, and you just type in your postcode or your suburb name, and it'll show you where the nearest places are where you can take your batteries. It's really, really easy to use. And virtually all of the household names when it comes to retail chains are in this scheme. So your Bunnings and Woolworths and your Office Works and all that sort of stuff. You can take your batteries to these locations, and then they can then take care of them from that point. And I'd just ask, if you are dropping batteries off, to tape the terminals to, because when you do have a large number of batteries all heaped together, and certain terminals can get in contact with each other, you can have something called thermal runaway, which can result in a fire, which we don't really want. So just taping the bit of sellotape on top of the terminals will mean a hugely more safe storage before they end up going to their final home. There will be public awareness campaigns, and you'll see marketing material, and a number of schemes will actually kick off in the future, so that the public is aware that we just don't chuck them into the general waste. And if that occurs, by the time we've got all our big electric car batteries ready for recycling, I think the recycling rates will be hopefully closer to where the lead acid battery recycling rates are, around 90% rather than 2% where they are now. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. Did you want to answer any questions?
Yeah.
Did anyone have any questions about battery recycling? Go for it, mate.
I'm just curious, when you were chatting with the EnviroStream, did they discuss commercials much? Like, were they making money out of their business, or were they on grants, or like, is it sustainable?
Basically, yes. I used to work for Sims Recycling Solutions, a division of Sims Metals, and so the stuff that they shred at the moment is it's for companies that are wanting to do the right thing and have certificates showing that they've lawfully processed the material that they have. And so, if you had a battery sitting out there and you needed it to be recycled, then it will cost you to have it done correctly. However, the schemes that are coming into place are actually levying a charge on the batteries that are being sold, and it should be self-funding fairly soon. And so some of the issues that we've had in the past should cease.
As new chemistries come in, will the recycling plants be able to adapt or use the same mechanisms, for example, the sodium-ion batteries?
There's a number of... the EnviroStream is the only operation in Australia that does lithium-ion, but they also look after other batteries as well. And so there are other facilities in Australia that do look after the more mainstream batteries. The only ones that I'm aware of that we don't do at all in Australia are NiCad. They get sent to the USA. But the other batteries, generally speaking, are easier to deal with than the lithium-ion. And so this is probably the last of the chemistries that are in wide use today that we haven't, got our act together in.
Just if you look at many of the current Tesla batteries, pulling them apart first and pulling out the cells. Very labour intensive. Is there any talk or feedback to the industry about designing batteries in the first instance for recyclability? Because
I mean, some sort of standardisation, you mean?
well, I don't know about standardisation, but a lot of batteries aren't designed to be pulled apart, and so it becomes problematic in recycling. You know, the image you had there of people unscrewing the batteries and pulling cells out. Look at Tesla batteries, you know, they're full of filler and foam, and, you know, and you've got 6,000 cylinders of cells. It'd be a nightmare.
Have you ever seen a shredder at work?
But I thought the whole concept was to pull a lot of plastics and then manufacture without curves.
The reason why the recycling rate is not 100% and why it's 90% is that little bits of plastic and things like that are still items that are not recycled. The vast bulk by weight of the battery is recycled. There is a small amount of plastic and a few items that by weight are not very large that are not recycled. But having worked in the recycling industry for a while, I can tell you that a shredder will put to work even the most robustly constructed thing fairly rapidly. The difference is here is, sure, some of these batteries are large and they're all made in different ways, and so at this stage, while we're still in the early years of recycling these things, manually taking apart the larger batteries is going to be what happens. And there's no getting around that. No one I know has got an automated process. However, when you've got massive volumes of batteries ready for recycling and they're all the same, like, let's say there was a million Tesla Model 3s out there by this time, in 5-6 years' time, then you could automate the recycling for that because you've got such a large number of products. But at the moment, most of the batteries that these guys are doing are like custom-built jobs or manufacturing defaults, and they're all quite different from one another. So there's no other solution from actual manually dismantling until they get to a size that it can be accepted by the shredder.
So lots of stuff goes through the shredder, not just the cells.
Say it again, sorry?
There's lots of material that go through the shredder, not just the cells.
They try and keep it just to the cells, but some of the way things are designed means there is some other material in there as well. But the further refining that goes ahead can separate that. They keep most of the easily obtainable aluminium, steel and copper. They get rid of that at the dismantling stage. And then it's the stuff that, the nitty-gritty stuff, then that's what they shred. They really only want to shred the stuff that's meant to be shredded.
Is there a breakdown between, say, lithium ion in your phone, your laptop, versus just one car? Is there a ratio of like what will be turning up at the recyclers at the moment? Because personally, I wouldn't have thought many EV batteries would really turn up at the recyclers because we're only at a pretty early stage for most production EVs. I know some models have been around for a little bit longer, but even those models are seeing second life in storage and EV conversions. So is there something you could maybe say about what's actually turning up at the recyclers?
Yeah, sure. So mostly when it comes to lithium ion, the bulk of the weight that is coming through are smaller batteries. Now, the larger batteries, because they do weigh a lot, they have a disproportionate share maybe in terms of gross weight, but in terms of number of batteries, it's certainly, garden tools, and you buy your thing from Bunnings and the mower batteries stop working or that sort of thing. These things can be shredded relatively easily, require minimal or no dismantling, and so that's what is the bulk of the stuff now. There are EV batteries coming through, but it's only a small proportion. And they have the staff to dismantle those when required. But as time goes on, as Max was saying, yes, the number of large batteries is going to increase, and it is. But they don't think they'll see real volume for 7-8 years. And they will scale their operations based upon what's coming in the door. So as the need, they can add more. The last slide had in the background a shredder and the assembly from EnviroStream, and they can, they've got the space to add more lines and do more when the organic growth comes through. And until that stage, and the capturing rates are higher, they'll just keep on top of what is presently coming through the door. And if the government schemes work as they're intended, then we should see a great increase in the amount of these batteries coming through proper channels.
Okay. Thank you very much. Round of applause. Thank you very much, Matt. Yes, very interesting topic. I think it's important. A lot of us probably have some environmental slant on our lifestyles, having an EV, having solar panels, and being interested in renewables, that sometimes, you have to come up against the people that are, bringing up the counter argument that stuff's not recyclable. Wind turbines don't have the greatest recyclability at the moment. I think they're working on that. There's a question mark around solar panels and the wave of waste that's coming from those in the near future if people just take their perfectly working panels and put bigger ones on their roof rather than lowering their consumption, things like that. And I think it's important that we at least have presentations like this that maybe nut out some of the reality that 90% of the battery is recyclable, even if that's what we believe. It's nice to hear it in practicality as well. So, you going up? Okay. Oh, here's everybody. Here's Les with the presentation. I finally get to be chief clicker.
Cool. Hey, so I wanted to go to the expo, but my little Leaf can't make it. It only has like 13 kilowatt hours now, so I was like, that's going to work. Yeah, but he's got 30. I got 13 left, so I was like, that's not going to work. So anyway, so the boss let me borrow the Tesla. So I loaded all the stuff in there and zoomed down. And I'm originally from New South Wales, so I got lots of aunties and uncles and all sorts of other stuff to visit. So I was like, so I'll just drive down, visit everybody on the way. So so my first time in a Model 3, I renamed Autopilot to Death Pilot because I had a very bad experience with it. So that stayed off after it tried to push me under a truck, and then another time when it tried to automatically brake while I was passing a truck with another truck behind me. So I may need a few more goes before I can get an autopilot to work right. But otherwise, I zoomed down, so I had fun. So I missed the first day because I was visiting family. So I only went along for the actual EV Expo on the Saturday and the Sunday. When I got there, these two areas was just where they kept all the cars. So they had like about 50 cars all out the front. So people would just come along, jump in the cars, and they would take you for little ride-alongs. So something similar to what we do on our other EV days, where you don't get to drive the car, but you can just go with them. So, and it's usually, so they had the announcer going the whole time just saying like, hey, if you want the person who owns the car to tell you about it, then go along. So most people were happy. And seemed very popular. That's pretty good. Okay, next one. So these are just, so I didn't have a lot of time because I was stuck at the booth the whole time, but when I could, I just kind of ran along and just raced and took some photos. So I don't know why, but they only brought the 40 kilowatt hour Leaf instead of the 62. So that was a bit of a shame, but it was pretty popular. I got to sit on the electric motorbike. It's a scooter, but it's actually ginormous. That scooter is really big, but yeah, it only does about 120 Ks, I think. But yeah, it was quite nice, but it is $22,000. So, but if you love future-looking scooters, it's got the thing. The Mini was kind of around the corner, so I didn't really get to see how popular it was, but this red IX thing was in front of me, and that thing had a constant stream of people both days. Like, there was queues to get into it. Everyone loved jumping in that thing.
We're trying to get some for Cleveland.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's a massive one. Yeah, so you're going to jump. So the next one, so there was a few, I've missed some, this is just the few I could get, but there's lots of e-bikes. So there was a lot of conversation where people would ask us about charging their car, and one of the things I always say to is, do you need a car? Like, because if a bike will do, get a bike. Like, you don't need a car. So there's lots of conversation, but there were a lot of people interested. Even though it was in Canberra where it was like 8 degrees, 11 degrees during the day. But surprisingly, I did see a lot of bicycles getting around. So they were a lot popular than I thought they would be. Yeah, next one. There was a few motorbike people there. So the Savage people were there again. I think that bike is still getting its ABS system verified or certified. So I don't...
I've already started talking to them, hoping to have them complete one.
Yeah, I don't... Last thing I...
There's a static display and there's a writing.
Yeah, one of the guys at work's put an order on one, and I think he said that they're still waiting on some ABS thing to be verified. So I don't know when they're going to rock up. The Fonzarelli stuff was there. They were pretty busy. Like, I saw a lot of people around those. And I think the Evokes were fairly popular too. But unfortunately, they were around the corner from me, so I didn't really see how busy they were. But it was nice to see motorbikes and a lot of people interested. There was these trucks. So this truck on this side, that's the SCA Electric. So they do lots of garbage trucks and all that kind of stuff. So, so they had that one open so you could actually see the internals, which is good. And the other one was that truck that was at the Brisbane, whatever that other one was.
They might be coming also to Cleveland.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So anyway, they had a charger in front of it. But yeah, that was pretty cool. Oh, and then the Cupra was there. It's an EU model, but yeah, but it's just it's an idea, like you can tell by the shape it's an ID3, but it looked pretty cool. Like, it had a lot of people going through it. So yeah, a lot of interest in that one. So yeah, there we go. So these are just like station, they're not all the station manufacturers, but I work for EVOS now, so that's that one. So I had a few, I don't know, Tesla Tom or whoever, I was like, oh, they're installers, and ran away. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not an installer. We're an energy management company. But anyway, so they just took off. These guys are the same, the ones underneath. They're also the same. They sell you chargers, but they're also energy management companies. So there's a lot more energy management coming through. So especially for shared spaces like Strata. So that's going through. Oh, this was very popular. I managed to get pictures of it later in the day just before it closed. Yeah, the conversion on this one looks really, really good. Like, didn't look like someone just did a one-off, like it's reproducible, and yeah, looked really good. So that one had a lot of people visiting. Yeah. No, next one. The Pulse, well, it's not as big as the Brisbane display, but yeah, they had, I don't know, there's a sticker there. It's the Polestar.
The Brisbane display was like the...
It was huge. Yeah. No, they just had a little one for this one. But yeah, a lot of interest in it. Oh yeah, next one. Yeah, so Actuagle, well, they're kind of the incumbent, so in Canberra anyway. They were there. They were having some stuff like, You buy your electric vehicle and you get a $15,000 loan interest-free. I mean, you still got to pay it back, but...
Towards an EV?
Yeah, towards an EV. So, so the climate choices and the actuarial...
$15,000 loan yet? Or does it have to be...
No, it has to be new. Yeah. But, you know, asterisk terms and conditions. But, yeah, but that was there. I was pretty interested. There was a lot of people coming through, so that wasn't too bad. And then there was these guys, they're importers. So if there's any exotic car you want in EV, they seem to be able to get.
That's the guy who imported Nathan's...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the people did Nathan's. Yeah, because they got there's a white one.
Yeah, just
The white Honda E, yeah. So they weren't too bad. Yeah, and that was it for that. So next one, I just got a quick bit of info on the next one. So this, as per our normal rules, the next meeting we'll have to have a quick AGM. So it's only expected to take 30 minutes. I think we got it done in 15 last time. We kind of power through, because, well, it's not, there's not much to do really. It's just, you know, someone wants to go, someone nominates them. If everyone agrees, then we push it through. So that's fine. So we just have for convener, secretary, treasurer, and general committee members. So I'll send something out. If you want to nominate, you can nominate. So just right now, those of us in the positions have been there for quite a while. So it's kind of that time where someone new should come along and have a go. So we always support you, but as with all organisations, if the people there always do the same thing all the time, it kind of gets a bit stale, and especially in an EV where everything's always changing. So yeah, if you want to help, please put your hand up. We always appreciate it, and it's not like we're just going to like throw it at you and go, see ya. Like we'll be there to help, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and lately I think we're kind of expanding on how many things we do. So yeah, so the three main people, it's not really enough to do all the different items we have to do. So yep, oh, and one more. Sorry, and I'll send these out, but these are just a few things. So like if you're at the convener, you're normally kind of like the head organizer. So if we have a question, it's up to you, the convener, to decide like we're going to do A or B. Like they don't have to come up with all the options, but they're the one who decides on the options. The convener also gets a lot of, you might get like requests like ABC will call up always at the last minute going, oh, I need an interview because we've got something happening tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. show or whatever. So they'll just call you and have a quick chat, kind of that stuff. We also do Facebook moderating. So we never needed to do this very much, but lately we've had a bunch of people on there who just, I don't know what's the matter with them. They just don't know how to communicate. So yeah, so sometimes you just either got to delete their posts or warn them or ban them. So just that kind of stuff. Secretary, so if you do secretary, you just get questions, usually via email. Sometimes people will ring you. Normally just little questions or where to point, or you can show them on the website where to go, that kind of stuff. You get to send communications, so just letters out to people saying, hey, you know, this event's on or that event's on. And then there's administrative items like processing the AGM and all that kind of stuff. So not too much. And then we've got the treasurer, and they do like the banking, to just drop the money in the bank, the financial reports that we send off to the national group, and also they assist with funding info. So like if we go, oh, we want to do this event, then they'll look at it and go, no, you need this much funding, or you need to get this grant, or so that's the help. And then we've just got the general committee, and general committee is just like, so we have an event, we're like, oh, we need people to help us with organisation, you know, like who's going to do the safety, who's going to get the council on board, who's going to do whatever. And so, yeah, if you want to be on the general committee, then when stuff comes up, we can just request and then you can see it. That's it. Cool. Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Les. Thank you for saying I've gotten stale. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Look, I won't take it personally. It's all right, mate. Yeah, look, if anything, if people are interested in helping, please just let us know. There is a lot of hours that go into running this show, and personally I'll be re-nominating because I'm happy to do it, of course. Perhaps the secretary and treasurer roles are probably not as intensive, so we could always do with some help with that. But on that note, we're going to have a little social chat now and check out the Model Y a bit closer, and thank you for coming along.